some of my followers already know that I'm a big fan of Fox body Mustangs. In fact, I've owned several of them. My first one was a 1993 GT and it was black. I was so excited to ditch my wheezy Nissan Pulsar for a V8 manual transmission car that I ordered a nitrous system even before I ordered the Mustang. In fact, I installed the nitrous system within 3 days of buying the car and then waited for the engine break-in period to pass before I hit my first pull. Fond memories. That story is coming up right after the break. Did you know that the average driver gets 9 traffic tickets in their lifetime? Look, I'll be the first to admit that I've taken maybe a couple of liberties with traffic laws back in the day. And of course, when I got caught, I had to go to court to fight the ticket, which was always a hassle. And each time that I lost my case, it meant big fines, points on my record, and higher insurance premiums. Eventually, I realized that nothing beats having a good attorney argue your case in court. So here's what you do. You download the Off the Record app to your phone and register for an account. And if you get a ticket, simply upload a photo of your ticket into the app and you will be quickly matched with a lawyer in your jurisdiction. Your lawyer will start working your case right away, and in most cases, you'll never have to set foot in a courtroom. Off the Record has a 97% success rate and a 4.9 star rating on Google. And guess what? They even offer a money-back guarantee if they aren't able to reduce the points or keep that ticket fully off your record. Best of all, I've arranged a 10% discount for all of my YouTube viewers, so download the app and register using the referral code FASTLIFE to receive 10% off your first case. At the time, I was working for NGK Spark Plugs, who had 2 buildings on Watney Drive down here in Irvine, which happened to be directly across the street from Saleen Motorsports. I was always doing stuff on the Mustang and experimenting with different parts. But by 1994, I was knee-deep in my modding Mustang to a whole new level. The usual bolt-ons gave way to a Vortex supercharger, twisted wedge heads, a GT40 intake, and supporting ignition and fuel system mods, so it really stepped it up quite a bit. And for a while, I was pretty happy. The technician that helped me with some of the heavy lifting work was a fellow by the name of Joe Gosinski, who worked at Saleen. Joe was a straight shooter. He never tried to upsell you on parts. He simply mapped out a safe way to achieve your desired goals, whether it was a horsepower number or an ET. After cranking up the boost a bit too much, the 93's hyperotectic pistons gave up the ghost, and a couple of ring lands were then mere confetti. A 306 build was suggested by Joe, along with O-ringed heads, ARP studs, and a set of O-ringed head gaskets, and so I followed that plan. And once again, Joe did the work personally. The car was down for a couple of weeks, and Steve Saleen personally loaned me a Saleen S351 convertible to attend the biggest event of the year, the fabulous Ford's Forever event. About a year later, I decided it was time to up the ante a little bit further. I slapped together a 347 stroke or short block and dropped the car off to Saleen to have them do the installation and the supporting mods. When I got the car back from Joe a few weeks later, the fuel system that he fabricated was an absolute masterpiece. The TFS heads, the E3030 cam, and the supporting mods cranked the power up to over 500 horsepower at the wheels. You could say that my experiences were very, very good. But the mid to late 1990s were tumultuous times for Saleen Motorsports. Steve started the performance parts division in 1990 and it was doing well. In 1994, he introduced the S351 and created his own EPA-certified 351 Windsor engine, and it was great. And he started stuffing those in the S351s. And in 1995, Steve Saleen formed the Saleen Tim Allen RRR Speed Lab with Tim Allen and Bob Bondurant. The team of Steve Saleen, Tim Allen, and Bob Bondurant set new track records and won the final race of the SCCA World Challenge Series. They were absolutely on a roll and they were getting a lot of press. In 1996, the same team won the SCCA Manufacturers Championship with their SR wide-body Saleen Mustang. Saleen also won at Watkins Glen International Raceway. And in 1997, the Speed Lab team competed at the 24 Hours of Le Mans for the first time, making the Mustang's first return in over 30 years. Saleen again also clinched the SCCA Manufacturers Championship title for the 3rd time. In 1998, this brought more wins for the Saleen Speed Lab team, and the team won both the SCCA Manufacturers and the Drivers' Championship titles. They were rocking it. Steve's grand vision and commitment to racing affected the production of the cars in his performance parts business as well. So much so that some vendors were not getting paid regularly, if the rumors I heard were true. The early Saleen supercharged Mustangs were originally outfitted with Paxton blowers, but allegedly, when payments to Paxton weren't current, Steve Saleen turned to Vortec. Stories also allege that the cash flow issues explained the change of wheel vendors, suspension parts vendors, and many, many others. By the year 2000, I had already sold my last Mustang and I had moved on to tuning Japanese tuner cars. By 2002, Joe Gosinski had started his own shop in Torrance called Chicane Motorsports. I actually visited that shop a couple of times with a buddy who still had his Mustang, and business seemed to be going very, very well for him. Joe was a well-respected genius when it came to Mustangs. I don't think anybody would dispute that. But by many accounts, Joe was always direct and quite to the point. This is why I liked him. He was a guy that didn't suffer fools, and he demanded the best from himself and from his employees. I witnessed this firsthand. The last time I let Joe work on my car was probably around 1996 when I had his shop do some work on the car and have something looked at. Shortly after that, my Mustang got stolen and the car was never recovered and no parts were ever found. I fell out of touch with Joe for many years until I saw him later on, and usually I would only see him occasionally at a Cars and Coffee event. Joe was born October 24th, 1966, so we were pretty close in the same age. He served in the U.S. Army in the Persian Gulf, and he joined Saleen in 1989. To say that he was active in the Mustang scene would be a colossal understatement. At some point, Joe was living with his girlfriend, a lady by the name of Rachel Galera, in Huntington Beach, and her 13-year-old daughter, Ramsell. Last time I saw him, his life seemed to be going pretty well. He had a strong business, and he was building a family life, but on Christmas Eve 2010, all that changed. Sometime between 6:30 p.m. and 1 o'clock a.m., a person or persons entered Joe's shop and hit him in the head. At some point in the assault, he was shot in the chest, the bullet coming from one side of his chest into the other side, going through both lungs. The police report says that he was left on the cold cement of the shop floor where he had passed away. His girlfriend, having not heard from him from about 6:30 in the evening, told police that Joe was supposed to be stopping by the Westminster Mall, a little bit of last-minute Christmas gift shopping for her father and the 13-year-old daughter, Ramsell. So when he didn't come home, she called him that night multiple times, at 9:30, then 10, and again at 11, but got no response. Rachel Galera found Gosinski dead about 1 or 1:30 in the morning at his shop, Chicane Sport Tuning on Del Amo Boulevard, when he failed to return to their Huntington Beach home. Upon arriving at the scene, Rachel, seeing the blood, covered her daughter's eyes to the horrible sight. Rachel later told police, "I ran to him and I just panicked. Pure panic," she says. She went on to say, "I can't remember if I picked up the phone and called 911 or tried to wake him up, but I screamed for my daughter to call my dad." Parents arrived pretty quickly but told her very, very little. Eventually they said, "He's gone." The autopsy report said that the killer struck Gosinski in the head and shot him. Scratches on Joe's hands, right shoulder, and back appeared to be caused by tools and indicated he had held his hands up to deflect the assault. Police also noted that a secret safe that was stored upstairs was picked up and carried out, and the safe supposedly had a secret stash of cash that Joe would use to buy cars when great deals came up. As he was running a shop, sometimes those deals came up. And if you watch crime dramas, you know that the finger is often pointed to those closest to the victim. At some point, some of Joe's friends and family started having doubts about Rachel's version of the events leading up to Joe's death that night. She denied having anything to do with the killing, suggesting that maybe his straightforward attitude of telling people his opinions might have played a role in his death. And in other words, he might have pissed off the wrong kind of people. Rachel went on to say, "From what I heard, there were a lot of people who are jealous of him and his situation. Sometimes if he had an employee and they were acting stupid, he would yell at them and pretty much call them stupid." These are her words. He would really put you down. He had that anger thing going on. These are all Rachel's words, and they were quoted in the press. Joe's sister, Michelle Wood, has her suspicions, however. In one interview, Wood said her brother was in the process of moving from his Huntington Beach apartment away from Rachel to go live with a friend and had planned to break up with Rachel. I haven't seen anything in the news that says that was true or not true. Michelle Wood went on to say, "We all know Joe was leaving her. I really truly believe she knows something. Sometimes I feel bad about feeling so strongly about accusing her, but I just can't let it go," as Michelle said. Still, it's important to note that Rachel has never been charged with any form of wrongdoing ever. I have to think that the cops looked at every possible motive and followed up leads accordingly, but the case has gone cold despite the fact that there have been several TV shows covering this unsolved murder, and one as recently as 2016. And here in 2021, the case is still unsolved more than 10 years after the murder. The truth is, we may never find Joe's murderer, but Joe's work and the joys he provided to so many people through his work and his friendship will live on. If you have any information about this case, please call Torrance Police at the number below. Thanks for watching, everybody. I really appreciate it. Please don't forget to subscribe below so you can get notifications about my new videos. We'll see you next time.